Well, thank you all very much for joining us and for wanting to learn more about the Equipment Grants Program. As we mentioned, I'm Mallory Koenings, and my colleague Carlos Ortiz. We both share leadership of the Equipment Grants Program. This is a program that is delivered by the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. If any of you are unfamiliar, we are the primary extramural funding agency within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Our budget is around $2 billion in 2020, and our goal is to fund work in research, education, and extension that will continue to catalyze discoveries and education across the agricultural sciences. Our programs cover many topic areas, and the Equipment Grants Program also shares this diverse portfolio. This webinar, of course, is focused on the Equipment Grant Program RFA that was recently released. This slide indicates where you can find that funding opportunity, along with the list of frequently asked questions that has been developed for this program. As a reminder, these applications are due on June 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern. All applications must be submitted through grants.gov to be accepted. The maximum funding amount for an award is $500,000. An institution may submit up to 3 proposals to this program, and no more than 1 award will be made per institution. Throughout this presentation, you will see a circle in the upper right-hand corner, and that is going to indicate what page of the RFA the information can be found on. So now moving to the details of the Equipment Grants Program. The purpose of this program is to strengthen the quality and expand the scope of both fundamental and applied research at eligible institutions, with the goal of increasing access to shared use special purpose equipment and instruments in order to continue to support both that fundamental and applied research in the food and agricultural sciences. The Equipment Grants Program is not intended to replace any of the existing NIFA grant programs, and not intended to replace requests for equipment that would typically be within a research, education, or extension project proposal. This program is for the acquisition of a single instrument, a well-integrated piece of equipment, and is intended to provide for instruments that cannot be supported by other grant programs or may be too costly to acquire through them. A well-integrated piece of equipment is one where the entire ensemble is required for the execution of an experiment, and without any one of those subsets or subcomponents, the instrument would no longer be successful. There are several activities to note that the Equipment Grants Program does not support. As previously stated, this program is intended for acquisition only of a single instrument or piece of equipment. As a result, it does not fund personnel, salaries, or wages. It does not fund research projects, extension projects, education projects. It doesn't fund any common or general purpose equipment that can be supported through other means. It doesn't support maintenance or facilities or construction or renovation. and it does not support a suite of instruments to outfit a laboratory. There are project types and grant types that are accepted in the equipment grants program. The project types for equipment projects include fundamental research, so that basic research to increase our knowledge, as well as applied research into the application and practical use by consumers of research findings. Standard grants are the grant type that are accepted. These, once again, can be up to $500,000 as the maximum budget, and the maximum duration is 3 years. An equipment proposal and project is successful when the piece of equipment that is being acquired is fully operational by the end of the award period. There are in this program application submission and award limitations. Eligible institutions may submit up to 3 applications to this program, and no more than 1 award will be made per institution in a single fiscal year. Please work with your own institution to determine if they have internal selection procedures that they want you to work through. The eligibility for this program includes colleges and universities, as well as state cooperative institutions. Any of those subsets are eligible to apply for the equipment grants program. This grants program does not have cost sharing or matching, meaning that there's no matching requirement, and as a result, matching is not factored into our evaluation or our review process. Also important to note is that there are no indirect costs as part of the equipment grants program.
Sure. So let's talk about now the actual proposal that you are to develop. So the main thing that you need to know, and the very, very important one, is that all the documents that you are to submit to NIFA through grants.gov are to be in a PDF format. Oftentimes we see that letters of support are compiled as a group, and people may use a third-party PDF builder. I will tell you that our systems do not recognize those. So the application will not contain those documents. So just make sure that you download the Adobe Acrobat PDF builder, and then you make the bounds of all those collaboration letters together using that software. There is a NIFA applications guide on grants.gov. So please go ahead, download it, and you'll have more information about how the application process works out. Your Office of Sponsored Program should be very much familiar with this, but it is always a good idea that to start building those documents, to just make it the right way, and that will really save your save you from any headaches as you go through the application process. Mallory, do you mind going to the next? Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned, the documents have to be a PDF format. They have to be submitted through grants.gov. We do not accept any documents that are outside of your initial application. There's a strict limit of 15 pages for your proposal, and this is the narrative. The narrative has to be 1.5 spacing, 11 points Times New Roman, and all the text, figures, and tables have to be contained within these 15 pages. If you have any tables, these can be single space if needed, but the whole document has to be 15 pages, 1.5 spacing within the text. So what does the project narrative contain? Well, it will contain And all of this is delineated in page 15 of the RFA. So the main part will be the instrument, location, and type. What type of instrument are you trying to get? Where will this be housed within your institution? Remember, this program does not support the building or the building of facilities or renovation of facilities. So you may need to find a place that is already built and is able to contain this equipment. We also want to know what research activities are to be enabled by the purchase of this equipment. So what type of research, extension, education facilities you will be working with, the type of personnel that will be working with this equipment, mostly on a regular basis. We know that other personnel will also be working with it every now and then, but who will be using this equipment if you are to get it? We also want to know the description of the research equipment and needs. Again, what type of equipment do you need? If you were to say, well, I need to buy a car, well, what type of car do you need? Remember, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the reviewer and really make it easy for them to understand what your ask is, why you need X or Y equipment, what capabilities of that equipment will enable you and your institution to carry research, education, and extension projects using this equipment. If it's a well-integrated instrument, well, you need to define what this instrument is. Why does it need to have so many parts? Why does it need to be well integrated? What's important about it? The impact on research, training infrastructure, or extension to achieve these goals. What is the plan that you're trying to achieve with this equipment? Why do you need it? The cooperation and institutional involvement. So as we mentioned, this program does not support the maintenance or any research with this that will be part of this equipment. So we need to know if your institution has any buy-in. So what are the plans for the equipment maintenance and use beyond the period of USA funding? We need to know what resources does your institution have to carry and continue the use of this equipment. And finally, we also want to know the project timeline. We need to know, how long is it going to take for you to acquire the equipment, to install the equipment, and remember, at the end of the project period, that is up to 3 years, the equipment has to be fully functional. So we also need to know what are the plans of how the equipment will be sustained beyond the termination of this award. It is very important to know that application exceeding the page limit will be returned without review. So as you make your project narrative into a PDF document, make sure that it is within the 15 pages that we describe in this screen and the screen before. As part of your application, you are also asked to submit a management plan. Within the management plan, and you have 2 pages for this, we need to know again, where will the instrument be placed? How and who will operate and maintain the instrument over its lifetime? The anticipated cost and the technical expertise needed for this? Description of procedures for allocation of the instrument time, including information on anticipated usage and downtime. So again, who will be using it? How often will this be used? And details on the appropriate technical expertise and infrastructure to allow the effective usage of the instrument. The idea of this program is that we will be funding you for the acquisition of a piece of equipment. And what we want to know, and is very much highlighted within the RFA, is that it is to be shared use equipment. So we don't want to see a piece of equipment that is sitting in a room locked up. We need this equipment to be used as much as possible. In a perfect world, I would love it for it to be 24/7. We know that is not the reality, but we really want the equipment to be used as much as possible by as many individuals as possible, so that the research and extension capabilities of your institution are increased and you can be on the forefront. So how will we evaluate the proposals that you send us? Remember, as you're writing your proposal, please put yourself on the shoes of the reviewer. Provide enough details that somebody could understand what you're trying to do, why you have the need for that given piece of equipment. The way that the review process at NIFA works is that we will select reviewers throughout the nation. We will send your application to a minimum of 3, and they will read those applications at home, or in their office, or wherever they are at that time. They will evaluate your application, and then we will have a panel discussion where all the reviewers that read the same application, as well as reviewers that are part of the panel or the review panel for the program, will discuss your application. Throughout the discussions, the peer review panelists will come to the consensus on the final rating and ranking of proposals. NIFA funds projects based on a ranking mechanism. So the first one to be funded will be the most scientifically notorious and meritorious, and we go from the top down. So again, the people that you need to convince in the first line of defense will be the panelists. So make sure that you provide them enough information to know why you need that equipment, how will that help you, who will be using it, what's the continuation plan for it. So the panelists will have a rubric of how all the proposals are to be evaluated. So the first thing that they're going to look at is the innovativeness and effectiveness. So is the equipment that you are requesting to purchase the best equipment that you can get? Does it fit the goals of your institution and those goals of USDA as well? How will it advance the quality of research, training, and extension at your institution? The second thing that they're going to look at is the proposed approach. If you are proposing a well-integrated instrument, well, does this instrument make sense? They will be looking at the objectives of your proposal, the methodology, the plan of operation, the timetable, the plan, as well as the expected results that you will have. The third thing will be the institutional capability and capacity building. Does your institution have the facilities to house this equipment? At what degree will the equipment will strengthen the research training and extension capacity of your institution? What are the commitments of your institution to operation and maintenance of the equipment? And does your institution have additional adequate resources? So you really need to provide all of this information to convince the reviewer that your institution has buy-in and has all the resources to carry out this project, AKA to acquire this equipment, maintain and operate this equipment. It is also very important that we want to know if this equipment will broaden the participation in agricultural sciences and engineering by women and minority, underrepresented minorities. So you need to really add how really this equipment will really strengthen the capacity at your institution. In the key personal and cooperative linkages, we want to know who will be using this equipment, who will be developing and carrying experiments or activities using the equipment. Are there any institutions around you that will also have access to, through collaboration, to develop new projects where this equipment will be used? And lastly, and importantly as well, is the budget and cost effectiveness. So this criterion relates to the extent to which the total budget adequately supports the equipment acquisition and is cost effective. Elements that will be considered here are the necessity and the reasonableness of the acquisition cost. So if you're buying a piece of equipment, are there any similar one that has the same technological specs than the one that you're looking for? So what type of car are you looking for, and can you really justify having a brand new model compared to a different one? So again, the applications are due on June 23rd. We know that many of your institutions have internal competitions before the application, but all applications have to be submitted by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 23rd, 2020. An application that comes in at 5:01 p.m. will be declined. The maximum funding per award is $500,000. There's a maximum of 3 applications per institution, and we will be making only 1 award per institution. So this last one slide is just, we often get a few questions about how long will it take for the award to come in. And this is a very generic map of how the competitive programs work at NIFA. So right now, the request for applications has been released. You guys are writing your proposals. We are waiting to see all of your proposals. So after the proposal due date, it takes about 4 to 6 months maybe for the work to be made after the proposals have been received. So we ask you to please, we'll try to update you as much as possible, but please be cognizant that this decision will not be made within a month after the proposal due date. It will take about 3 to 4 months for you to know. It will take about 3 months for you to know if you will be awarded or not, and then a month or 2 after that to finalize all the paperwork and get the award to your institution. So with that, if you have any questions, please use the chat box. We will, Mallory and I will be going through them, and we'll answer as many of them as we have time. We have about 30 minutes. So